Hello, everyone. Good afternoon and good morning to people from different parts of the world and China. So I'm very happy to see you to join us this afternoon and on Sunday.
So let's welcome. So nice. Thank you, everyone. And so let's briefly go through the event. What is our conference about? As you saw, the idea of the conference, the theme is the wheel of life. Why we picked this topic? Because it's actually a famous tool that is used in different coaching sessions by experts that evaluate your life fully. And we are, as an organization on life skills development, we thought to provide some kind of conference where we can give as many tips, as many, useful information as possible. And to do it holistically, we thought to take this wheel of life concept where you can evaluate your life and get inspired on personal development from different angles. And that's what actually we will do. We will have our 4 speakers today, and we'll cover each and every area of this wheel of life. And this is our agenda. As you saw, we had some short networking with the games. Thank you, everyone. I really enjoyed their words that you sent in the group. Also, all their discussions and sharings. Thank you. We also have now introduction about us. Now soon we'll have Eveline Goodman joining us and sharing her workshop on the Be Well and Rest category. Then following, we'll have an invited speaker, Anindita. She will share the workshop on the Grow category. We'll have break time. So some people were asking me already today when I can have my coffee. Don't worry, this is a time for you to have coffee. I'm also sorry in advance if you're joining us not from China. This all time part is done by GMT +8 China time, so feel free to use time converted to change it. So that will be the time from 6:15 where we'll have a break time. But in the same time, if you feel like, no, I don't want to break, I still have energy, I want to talk to people, this will be a time for us to talk, to connect, to finish the discussion that we just had in the small groups, and also to connect actually with speakers. Then following, we'll have our 2 other invited speakers, Tilman and Matthieu, talking about connect, care, do, and earn category. And last but not least is one of my favorite parts of the events that we keep as a tradition for all events, all conferences that we organize. We call it Life Skills Advocates time. This is a time when everyone can share their story, their tip, their resources, their book that they read, anything that you think is useful for others to come to you later on, to talk about with you later on, or maybe just like you learn something you want to tell this as a tip. So this is a time for us to share, to open our mics and to share. And the last is LifeSkills4Me news. We have more than 20 partners supporting us for this conference, and they are all partners in personal development area for adults and for kids. And they are based in China and abroad, and they're having online and offline workshops, events, sessions, programs. So we'll have a lot of nice information there. I hope you will still join us till the end of the conference, and you'll see some nice, exciting workshops from us and from our partners. So who we are, LifeSkills4Me. We are the community, not-for-profit community that boosts life skills for individuals through personal development workshops. We are in more than 9 branches. We organized over 100 events, and all of our organizers, volunteers, doing their best to create their community of like-minded people that believe that learning never stops. When we finish, kindergarten, school, university, our first job, second job, it doesn't matter in which stage you are, there is always something to learn and to share. And that's why we run 2 types of events, gatherings and workshops. Gatherings are more relaxed, chill out events where everyone comes to the stage and share. Workshops, we still have a sharing time, but this is a time where we have longer sessions from the speakers and we have more intense learning experience there. So these are our co-founders. Well, I'm one of the co-founders, Margarita, Juliana as well. Hopefully they will join us today. Our company organization was founded already 3 years ago, and now it is represented by 10 ambassadors, 9 branches. So as you can see, we have branches in China, Shanghai, Beijing, Qingdao, Zhuhai, but we have also branches abroad like Berlin, Boston, Luxembourg. Currently, with all these changes, before we did all the workshops only offline. Currently, we are actually increasing our impact, and we are doing some of the workshops abroad, like online. Some of the other people from abroad, from other countries, joining us, and I believe today we have people from all over the world joining us, like Erica Noki's from India, and for example, Svetlana, she's from Russia. So you guys feel free also to write now in the chat box, where are you currently and where you're from, and maybe you will connect somehow with like-minded people in your area, in your country. I told already that we send their worksheets, yeah. So if in some case you didn't do that, you didn't get their worksheet, so you can feel free to write in this email, and we will send it to you. Also, if you printed it, it's great. So you can, while our speakers will be talking, you can, just write down the notes, write down the things, questions, follow-ups that you have. If you don't have this worksheet printed, don't worry. You can still, but if you still have it, you can still open it and see like, oh, okay, Eveline is talking about this, nice, and this is a question I can write afterwards here in the worksheet. So we created this worksheet as a tool for understanding you better, and I hope that these sessions that we'll do today will inspire you to later at home take these worksheets and reflect more on your life.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Nana, for your sharing the introduction about our community and our yearly event, the Wheel of Life, and why we're doing this. So now we would like to invite our first speaker, the Wheel of Life. The first speaker, Eveline. And she is a PhD in psychology and neuroscience. It's an internationally recognized exclusive and speakers who have supported world-renowned customers and international firms for more than 12 years. His motto is it is high time to focus on the connective ability, which is our left and right minds, and that makes the difference. So she believes life skill, it is the ability to adapt to change in all aspects, inner and outer worlds. So today, Eveline will bring us a workshop, Feel the Potential Within Yourself, and teach to your brain. So is there one thing you can count on, is that you can't count on anything. Eveline will track the questions and how can we find the mental qualify and balance in a fast-paced and endless changing world. So let's put our hands together to welcome our first speaker of the Wheel of Life to cover Be Well and the rest parts. Eveline.
Thank you very much. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, so, okay, excellent. Well, I'm greeting from Berlin. First of all, it's 11 o'clock something, so before lunchtime here, and I'm glad to be with you all. I have an office in Berlin and Shanghai, and I miss Shanghai after COVID times. It was rather difficult to come to Shanghai, but I will be there as soon as the world normalizes again. Welcome, everyone. My name is Eveline Goodman, and greetings from Berlin. As said, will the people see it, or can they see the slides, Jessica?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, excellent. I'd like to just first compare the psychology versus your brain. And diving into our thoughts, I mean, I had a little idea about how far and how smart people of LifeSkills4Me community is in this group work. So seeing yourself or your thoughts make your psychology is, I think, clear for many of you. Your thoughts that you regularly have in your, produced by your wonderful brain, make up your personality. We have on daily basis 60 to 80,000 thoughts every day. In some cultures, Asian cultures or Indian cultures, thoughts were also or are seen as the part of your sixth sense or as a sense. However, in modern world that we created, I'm going to get there soon, we are not able to see our thoughts as a part of our senses. They wildly make us sick. They've got a very important potential. They can make us sick. So we have to change our thoughts. When we change our thoughts regularly or exercise doing it, then we will be able to change our psychology as well. So it's all generated here. And I'd like to inspire you today with this ideas. Next slide, please. With these ideas, how you can see or how you can start seeing yourself differently, maybe from this very perspective. You know this, right? So this is a real size of human brain. It's placed into our head like this. And I would like you from now on to see yourselves controlled and led by those two computer processors. We've got in our heads two giant computer processors, biological computer processors. Our left hemisphere is working like a serial processor, a linear processor, Verzeihung. Our right hemisphere works like a serial processor. This is the ability where we can see things holistically, and that's why I really loved to join this event, to take a look at ourselves from the holistic perspective. And our left hemisphere is like a linear processor. It just scans the things from up, down, zoom, zoom. It's very good at comparing. And our right hemisphere scans the things from like a bird perspective, I call it all the time, scans the things from the top holistically. They are indeed also completely separated from each other. They're connected with corpus callosum. I'm not going to get there in details today. They are completely separated in general also from each other. That means that they've got complete different ways of helping or leading the mankind as we are. When we go to the next slide, then I can they see, Jessica?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Our left hemisphere refers to this intellectual part in us, right? It's smart, it's argumentative, it can speak to us. Our left hemisphere is also verbal. It can articulate itself in words. This is the part that tells us all the time, hey, you can do the sports tomorrow. This is the part that tells us, well, this guy is actually really nice. He's got a good job. He comes from a good family, etc. This argumentative part. Your right hemisphere's communication language is the feelings, right? So, when you just meet a nice guy, when you just go to a job interview, for instance, right? Your left hemisphere is just talking to you in words and just saying, hey, they just give lots of money. It seems to be nice here. I need the money right now, so I will take the job. Your right hemisphere, your serial processor's communication language with you is the so-called gut feeling, right? So your feelings are just sending you signals and says, well, wait a minute, there's something wrong with this company or with this guy you met. We are not trained to listen to our feelings. We have to learn to listen to our feelings. I will just break it down later on. So our right hemisphere is nonverbal. It communicates to us through feelings, where our left hemisphere is extremely intelligent. It's this intellectual part. It has got an argumentation for everything. And it compares. It's got a very famous modus, namely compare modus. That is why, when not watched, our left hemisphere makes us compare ourselves with the rest of the world all the time. Am I too thick, too slim, too smart, not too smart, etc. So watch this mechanism that is happening within your biological self, namely within your psychology, and all these thoughts, this compare modus, this analytical part of you are just causing chemicals. This is all a reaction, connected reaction, and they're all causing chemicals when you just think negative. When you take the thoughts from the 60,000 or 70,000 thoughts from yesterday, if you take them to today regularly, what you're going to do, you're just in a certain circle, like a hamster, and you're just creating more and more same chemicals all the time. So you have no room for true change. You understand things intellectually, but you don't bring them into action. So we are going to get there in a minute as well. So when we go to the next slide, I'd like to mention about this very case. The world we created, when we just take a look at the world we created, then in the last decades, 2 decades, yeah, we wanted to have more, right? So having was more important than actually being. We went to so many mindfulness courses, yoga classes, cooking courses, and so on. We just made ourselves lots of stress, free time stress, because we believed in the work-life balance is a complete different thing. And by the way, our left hemisphere separates things. It's not able to think from its mechanism. From its nature, it's not able to think things holistically together. So our left hemisphere creates and separates things. And that is why I said all the time, work-life balance is the, I just have to watch my language right now, as one of the most unnecessary creations. So this is a politically correct formulation of it, of the past decades. Right? We were believed to just create 2 different worlds. Oh, when I go to work, I'm a complete different person than actually I am in the private life. It doesn't work that way. You have to take care that you are the same person in the workplace as well as in the private life, etc. So work-life balance is wrong. It separates. Anything that separates from one from the other is not good for your psychology. So think about or try to be the same person, as I would like to repeat, when you're living your life, because work life is a part of our life, and the new generation is understanding that, rather than my generation and the generation before. We were shown from traditionalists, baby boomers, and also old-fashioned generation X's like me, that work and life, they're completely different. In the German culture, we just say as well, schnapps is schnapps, beer is beer. So, shot is a shot, beer is a beer, they say in Germany, to separate things. But the trend we are all watching, workplaces, community living, belonging to somewhere, etc., or to a group, to a society, etc. All these needs of mankind is actually triggered in our right hemisphere. It needs to stimulate. In the 1930s or in the 18th, 17th century, right hemisphere had to be stimulated in one way or the other. Then the religion was there. Today, religion do not play as much place and an important place in our lives in the modern world, but our right hemisphere still would like to be stimulated. And how do we do this? I mean, how does stress occur in this case? We have become, in the last decades, human doings, doing the check marks. Oh, I have work-life balance stress. I have to do something for my private life. Then you created another stress to go to yoga classes, after work to go to dinner with the friends, then next day to go to the cinema with the friends, etc. You created another stress for yourself for the sake of creating a balance and doing things. So we've become human doings rather than human beings, and this is the overlapping, this is the transition we're all experiencing at the moment. It's all about stimulating the right hemisphere.
Is it enough to stimulate the right hemisphere only? Well, the world we created and the parameters we created are so tight and they are so left focused. Comparing muscles. She's got that, I don't have this. I've got that title, she doesn't have that title, etc. This all the time comparing modus makes us sick. So we have to just find tools to get out of this knowing, intellectually understanding something, but on the other hand, changing our selves chemically. This is the trick I found out in the couple of years. So it's nothing that I found out, but I'm just found out that it's working. So I'd like to share it with you I would like to share it with you with the next minutes to come. When we go to the next slide, yeah, this is what I mean with this think, do, feel principle from Dispenza. Think. We're all doing it. You're online right now. You're trying to stimulate your intellectual part of your wonderful brain. It just gets information, inspiration, etc. And then, so this is the intellectually understanding something, thinking part. Think, do, feel. Once we intellectually understand or know something, right? So I give always this example, hunger. We all know what hunger is, right? Or when you just ask a person who is really wealthy and then just explain, he knows what hunger is, but he never really experienced it. So you know what hunger is, but once you're really hungry, that you're starving, then you understand what that is and what kind of things it can trigger in your attitude, your think world, your thoughts. I mean, ladies will know this a lot better than male. Male can deal with the sugar lack in their body a lot better than ladies. So ladies, just not please. So if you know that when you're really hungry, then you will know that your thoughts, your chemical being basically changes. Yes or no? Yeah, many ladies can actually confirm this. To be under sugared is another problem we have to watch. So our brain needs regularly food. Yeah, so when we are living our lives, just make sure that your brain especially doesn't get under. So that means having nuts, some raisins, for example, they're really, or some dark chocolate is really great for your brain. Once we understand this think, do, feel principle, once we understand intellectually something, then we have to act. So our left hemisphere.
Hi, Eveline. Your voice is a little low. Eveline.
And we best understand things when we make mistakes.
Hello.
So first of all, I also would like to address this very point. Do not be afraid making mistakes. When you look at your lives, when you see your lives, or when you think back, then you will know, or you will be able to confirm that you must learn things when you make mistakes. Yes or no? So why are we all so afraid of making mistakes when we learned most from mistakes? So modern human being has to understand as well this the potential that can come out of mistakes. We have to be more brave, and this is the part that I would like to mention when we go to the next slide. When we once intellectually understood something, we have to do, we have to act, we have to take an action, so that our brain has a chance to chemically understand the process. Most of us understand, we all know to do sports is great, but to go that extra mile, taking your very self to this fitness club or to do something at home, that's the trigger point. If you do not do, you only intellectually understand something and you just do not act, your body will never have a chance to chemically understand what you're trying to teach him. So then you will always be unhappy because you just intellectually understood something, but you're just shy about it. So then it's a kind of, again, the circle of the hamster. And what happens with these when you just intellectually understand things and do not do anything about it, then you've got your body releases, amygdala releases lots of cortisol. And what does cortisol do? It's a stress hormone, as we all know, or many of you know. Cortisol makes our brain aging. It makes depression. It makes Alzheimer. And all the we are all afraid of all these diseases. Who would like to just suffer from dementia? None of us. So, but you're just continuously triggering the chemicals that trigger all these brain diseases, brain aging diseases, when you do not watch your thoughts. So your happiness basically starts when you watch your thoughts regularly and act. So you understood you have to connect with your boyfriend. You broke up. Or you understood you made a mistake at the workplace, right? So, and you just don't put your courage together and write that email, write that message, or just basically, I say all the time, go a confrontation with the situation or with the person. If you do not do or go this extra mile, you will not feel what happens afterwards. So you broke up with your boyfriend, or you had a quarrel and you're just stubborn, not taking the action. You understood you made a mistake, and you don't go that extra mile, then you will not feel the dopamine. Because when you just take that action, then your brain will release serotonin, dopamine, the happiness hormones, basically, so that you just say, when I take action, you're chemically teaching your brain to take action so that it can learn things. And then automatically happiness just comes out. You made a mistake at the workplace, and you just don't bring your courage together and say, dear colleague, Andy, Mandy, Sandy, whatever, the other day I made a mistake. I'm sorry. It was a clear misunderstanding. How did you mean it that way? So if you do not get the skill set as well, so it's not only, intellectually understanding something, okay, I made a mistake, but you don't have the skill sets for it, namely, then go to rhetoric classes, go to talking classes, ask for help from others, or listen to those who are better at rhetoric than you. So, but most important thing is that bring yourself to do things, because when you do, certain chemicals just are released in your body, and then you feel happiness, you feel relief. And when you continue doing this, intellectually understanding something, think, take an action, good or bad, it doesn't matter. It will not work immediately when you just take action. Maybe you just say, okay, next time when I do it, I'll do it a little better. Give yourself room to make mistakes, to not perfectionize something. We're not robots. We're human beings. And then we just have to go with things in with the increment process. Slowly, you just take one action. Maybe it's not so good. It's not as good as you imagined doing it. Imagination is also another point. When we if you want to become a better person, you have to visualize, and which is activates the right hemisphere. You have to visualize the person who you want to be, who you want to become regularly. Take a 5-minute time every day, every second day. With breathing exercises, visualize the person who you'd like to be, or how you'd like, visualize how you walk, visualize how you talk. Do this regularly so that you can also bring your brain the chance to learn things chemically even faster. We know that in neuroscience, acceptance, gratitude, and appreciation basically stimulate, another way of stimulating the peace-needing right hemisphere. So take yourself back when you're even just in a metro or in an underground, right? Close your eyes for a minute and just appreciate the person who you are. Maybe also just seeing yourself. I mean, once I started seeing myself, my body as the ship to go through this life, my life changed. I used to wear contact lenses, changing my eye colors in the past. Today, I appreciate that my brown eyes can see the world and I can be a wonderful part of it. And so once you start seeing yourself from different perspectives with certain or different perspectives, not just seeing one or two or one or the other imperfection in your body, seeing it as a tool to go through this life, brings an appreciation. I can imagine you guys also had experiences in the past that you suffered from not being healthy, broke a leg or arm, and you just don't know when your healthy times are not there anymore. Then when you lose something, then you learn appreciating it. So appreciation, gratitude, and acceptance also stimulates your very right hemisphere, and this is the real source to trigger happy life, because appreciation, gratitude, and acceptance at the same time produces oxytocin. This is the binding hormone through or a chemical to our lives. So with physical touching, hugging someone, that's why we are social animals, but at the same time, by these feelings created by our brain, we can bind more oxytocin, more binding to our own lives. So by this way, I basically would like to end my words, and we prepared some material for you according to the feel, do, think, do, and feel principle. What actions you can take or you might like to take in the next weeks, days to come. So some questions are welcome from now on.
Thank you, Eveline.
Hello.
So we'll take questions from the audience. Does anyone have a question?
Jessica?
Yes.
I cannot hear you now.
You can hear me? Hello?
Can you hear me? Hi, Eveline.
Yes, can you hear me? Eveline?
Yes, I can hear you. Eveline, you cannot hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, great.
So again, the questions, anyone has a question to share? So just let's review again what Eveline was telling. Thank you, Eveline, for sharing us. She was sharing about the left and right hemisphere. She was talking about think, do, feel principle. She was giving us useful suggestions on how to adapt and develop our right atmosphere by imagining, by thinking of of whom you want to be, by also accepting ourselves. Thank you so much, Eveline. And does anyone have a question to ask?
I have a question.
Yes.
It's Anna. Hi.
Yes. What
Jessica,
question?
can I have a question?
Sure.
Yeah. I just thank you, Eveline, first, and my question is about if our thoughts too many every day, and do the meditation can help us to get rid of them, and is that helpful or not? Yeah.
Great. Okay. So Eveline, just in case you cannot see us, you can check the WeChat. Yeah. Great. We asked Eveline the question. Thank you so much. So the question is, if we have that too many thoughts, yes, in our mind. So will meditation help on this?
Of course. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Excellent. Okay. Certainly. I mean, meditation is one of the. When we're in the left hemisphere, we just think about the past and the future. And when we are in the right hemisphere, we are in here and now. So, I mean, and as the time, 21st century, the transforming humankind, who we are today, we would like to stimulate the right hemisphere more. And that's why meditation, 5 minutes to 10 minutes every day is the best thing you can do also for your brain aging. That's a great.
Nice.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
So
Yeah.
what part of the brain is especially affected by meditation, as a follow-up question here, out of curiosity? Thank you.
What part of brain, right?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
to understand, to connect the dots. Thank you.
We're passing the question. Yes.
Right hemisphere. I hear the question, or I can see the question. So the right hemisphere is stimulated when we meditate. When we are here and now, every time when we are here and now, then we stimulate the right hemisphere. Whenever we think about the past, what did he mean? What's going to happen later? Then we are fully in the left hemisphere. Just we should. That will give you an idea when you're in the right and when you're in the left hemisphere. When you're watching your thoughts, it will give you an idea what part you're stimulating most.
Nice. Thank you so much. Thank you, Eveline. So I just wanted to remind us, so thank you again, Eveline. Thank you for your insight. It's been really, really a pleasure to have you with us. Thank you. We can give a round of thumbs up to our speaker and the applause. Thank you. And I just wanted to, before we go to the next speaker, I just wanted to remind about the worksheet that Eveline mentioned. You can see the worksheet that we sent to you. So anything with the green and blue, we have this questions, yes, as you can see. They are designed for you especially to reflect on the journey and to reflect about your left-right atmosphere, your, the way how you can develop yourself. You can apply the principle that Eveline shared. So please feel free to look through the worksheets that we had designed for you. Thank you so much, Eveline, sharing with us. Here are QR codes that you can connect with Eveline. After, there are some QR codes over WeChat. There is also her email. And feel free to ask extra questions. Sorry if we didn't cover some questions. We will cover that in some Q&A session time. So don't worry.
Yes, I'm here for a while, so they can connect with me directly.
Thank you. Yes, you can ask actually in private, if anything, or
yeah.
you can ask in chat box. Exactly. Yeah. So thank you so much.
Oh, wait a second. I just have to do this. I'm really bad at it. I have to say one more thing. Neuroscience and psychology is my passion, and with my company EP, I started a learning sessions, training programs for neuroscience upskiller and assessors. And if you'd like to join the online courses, go to e4p.com, the website, and take a look. We collected something and we put together something really brilliant. I'm sure you're going to love it, and you're going to maybe open new career possibilities for yourself in the future. Thank you so much for the opportunity, Anastasia. Bye-bye. I'm here for the questions.
Thank you. Thank you. And just to have a final note from me, because I was a part of Eveline's program, and if you join her WeChat groups or this program, you will be able to engage in different sessions on your on the stress release, on the upskilling, on the brain part, on psychology. It's really engaging interactive sessions. So I encourage you to contact her and to get in touch. So thank you again. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Eveline, again. So here comes to our next speaker, which is also our one of the category in the wheel of life, which is grow parts. So today, this speaker will be our Anindita, and she is a psychological coach and humanistic psychodramatic practitioner, and contributing in a book called Coaching Science. And she is living in Beijing since 2017, and also starting her founder company in Beijing. So for her, life skill means arts, intelligence, and abilities and expectations to do what it takes to live a life with pride and love and accomplishments. And today, she will bring us a workshop, the growth model for lifelong career success. If you have a goal and are looking for a way to realize those goals, and this is a workshop for you. So now, without further ado, so let's put our hands together to welcome our growth part speaker, Anindita.
Okay. Thank you very much, Jessica, and thank you, Anastasia. Anyone who wants to talk to me, you can call me Annie. I go by the name Annie.
Cool.
So welcome to call me Annie. I would also like to make this presentation very, very interactive, engaging. So can I invite you? Is that okay, Anastasia, if everyone unmutes and then they can ask me questions? Just immediately stop and ask me questions. So everyone is invited to unmute yourself. Don't stop yourself from speaking. We are the only species. No, that's not true, but I will just an assumption that we are the only species that can speak and we all understand each other. So please use that capability and ask me questions. All right, so I'm going to start with grow coaching. Can I have the next slide? A little introduction on grow coaching. It was started in the 1980s, 1990s by thought leaders, 3 of them. I have mentioned just one, but there were actually 3. It was a group of 3 people: Alan Fine, Graham Alexander, and John Whitmore. Now, John Whitmore in the 1980s, 1990s was a racing car driver. So what images do you get in mind in terms of capabilities when you think of a racing car driver? Can you share with us? What can a racing car driver do the best that no one else can do?
They're probably very brave.
Control.
Sorry?
Control.
Control.
Quick
reactions.
Quick reactions. Mm-hmm.
Far-sightedness.
Mm-hmm. Anything else?
Decision making.
Brave.
Decision making. Excellent. Very. Yes. So decision making. A couple more. 2 or 3 more.
Speed also, right?
Speed. Yes. You have to be very, very speedy. Okay.
Yeah.
So when you think of grow coaching, think of the time when you want to use these capabilities. There are times when life is easy going. There are times when there is expected of you some, high performance. There are some, you might be in some professions that are very, very high risk professions that create a lot of anxiety, that requires a lot of energy in terms of dedication. So some of the examples are, it sounds very surprising, but for example, musicians who work in an orchestra setting, they have an extremely high risk and jobs. Then sports people, surgeons, anchors.
Surgeons, yeah.
Yeah, financial officers, even university students, medicine students, police officers. So these people, they all use grow coaching. It is and And even coaches like us, we use Grow Coaching for self-coaching, which is a way to for personal development. So why is Grow Coaching very, very essential? Well, it is so widely used. It's a very quick and very effective coaching strategy. It's very methodical. You can go step by step, and it gives you a framework, and it is very powerful in the sense that it asks really difficult questions. Just because it is, it's very short and succinct does not mean it's easy. It is a very, very, the questions that you need to ask yourself are very difficult to answer. Can I have the next slide? So Grow Coaching stands for, G starts for, of course, goals. R stand for reality. O for opportunities, and obstacles. So both of them. And W is the will or your way forward. Can I have the next slide? You can do, sorry, can you go to the previous slide? Thanks. So to put it, if you use a metaphor, Grow Coaching is what you need to plan your journey. So what you do is you already have a destination, and imagine you're walking backwards. So you already have something in your mind that you want to achieve, and then you're breaking that process into smaller bits, and you're making a map for yourself. So where are you going is the goal. If you can imagine yourself, if you have a goal, start already visualizing. If you want to do something, you can start visualizing now. You were there, and then you're walking backwards, right? Then you're looking for, what are the realities? What can I do right now? Where am I? What is my here and now? What are the situations that I'm facing? Is it realistic to try for that goal? So that is what reality starts for. O is also opportunities, obstacles, and options. So when you come to O, to that step, you look for, what are the options do I have, and what are the opportunities? What can I do in this situation? You can think of options and opportunities as your choices. What choices do I make at this point so it will take me towards my goal, right? What are the, and think of what kind of transportation, if I may use this word, will I use to reach my goal? Do I want to reach my goal as quickest as possible, or can I take a break in between, smell the roses on the way, and enjoy my journey? So what is the kind of way do I want to take? Is that an option available for me at this moment? And then W is will and way forward, which means what is your motivation? Do you really want to do this, or is it just something that you've taken up because you're bored, or someone is forcing you to do something, or because everyone else is doing this, so you also have to do this? So there are many reasons that there are many things that you need to question. How much am I there on a scale of 1 to 10? Am I there for this goal 100%, or is it just 10%? In which case, that's the goal, and that's okay as well. You take a longer route to reach your goal, and that's fine as well. So we are not judging ourselves. We're not blaming or shaming ourselves. We're just taking our time to realize, is this really what I want to do, or right now, or is it something that I can postpone at a later time because I'm just attracted to this, right? Okay, so the next slide, please. Grow Coaching will help you. The first thing, when as a coach I have worked with people, it is very easy to name a goal. The difficult part is to execute it. That is where it takes time. That is where people generally forget about the goal and get distracted and derail themselves. So Grow Coaching is your strategy. You can always look go back to grow, and it helps you stay on track. Now, because I said initially, grow coaching will ask you really, really deep questions, so you can engage in some genuine self-reflections. For example, how many times have I tried this, and why is it not working? Is it me? Is it the situation? So these are some really hard questions that you can ask yourself. And these questions are not to, again, blaming or shaming anyone. These questions are to decide the next step of action. The third point I've written here is relevant and realistic action. So when you've done your self-reflection, you take realistic action. If the time is not right, then take a realistic action. Instead of jumping up to the moon, to the star, maybe you just jump up onto the moon as your first step for this. You don't have to, there is no pressure on you to reach the highest level at the first instant. No, you can always start slow, which is, by the way, when it comes to execution, that is the best strategy. But it depends on the person as well. And the last point is making choices and pursuing them. There is never one choice for reaching a goal. You can take many different routes. You can also pivot, come back to your initial point where you started. If something is not working out at that moment, you can take a different route as long as you stay true to your goal. Do you have any questions, by the way? Anyone with any questions?
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. You were just discussing on the keeping on the track is okay. Engaging in some genuine self-reflection,
yeah,
and identifying relevant and realistic action. I'm coming to this.
Mm-hmm.
In relation to what I'm saying is the current situation, like about the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
Like, say, if initially a person had a goal, he had made something in Jan that by the year end I'm going to reach at certain point. But that time he didn't realize that there's going to be some pandemic or the scenario will change or something. So, like, yes, answer is like one of the options is like you said, means which is coming on is like an online kind of a thing. You know, earlier if it was an offline thing, now come to the online. But like this would require a lot of patience because things like online and you had a certain task to complete by the end of the year, but you are in the middle of the year and you still are working on it and you're still lagging a lot way behind. You're trying options out, but I think you still will not be able to reach the part you had discussed. So my meaning is that the goal which I had thought of or which a person had thought of and he's not able to reach, how would you define this and how would you give an appropriate answer to this? Like, say if the goal is to be completed in a year, how to go about it?
So now, when you started with the goal in Jan, and this is June, and you haven't, first I will have to know what was the goal that you were not able to reach. Let's say, but you don't have to. No, you don't have to share it here because we like to keep coachings confidential, and I'm afraid we also don't have the time right now to take individual strategies. But what I would like to say is you need to also look at the time and the space that you're in. There are things that are in your control and there are things that are not in your control. So correct. You must look when you're doing your reality, the second part, the reality. What is the reality right now? Take the time and space into consideration. Is this the right time for you to, I don't want to use this word, but can you postpone it for a little while and work and be like a turtle? take little steps, not be like the turtle and hare story, not be like a hare, but be a turtle and still walk towards it. The smallest bit that you can do right now, that is in your control. But the situation is not in your control. So you have to do this kind of reality check as well. This is where R comes to your rescue. All right, R is also for your rescue and for the reality check. I would like to go to the next slide. Thank you so much for your question.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, when you're writing down your goals, can I ask everyone to have a little bit of piece of paper and just spontaneously come up with any goal in your mind? And I'd like you to try doing it with me right now. Do not put too much pressure. It's fine if your goal is to make yourself a cup of tea. That's fine as well. The one thing that I would like you to think of is, set SMART goals. What is meant? Does anyone know SMART goals?
Specific, measurable.
Yeah. Yes.
Achievable.
Specific, measurable, achievable.
Then result oriented or?
No, realistic again.
Realistic, okay. Specific,
And
measurable, achievable, and time bound, yeah.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes. So the SMART goals are specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound. So if I take Sukrit, right? That's your name. If I take your goal as an example, if I'm asking questions, I will ask questions that are very specific, that are very measurable, achievable. Now, I think because of the time bound, you will have to park some of the goals, not all of them, but some of the goals. Starting a company is a very big achievement in itself, and they're made of very little goals. So some of the goals you will have to park, some of the goals you can still achieve. So the ones that you can achieve, ask those questions. Realistic, again, the time and space we need to take into consideration. A lot of things are not possible. You have to let it go, right? And time bound. And ask open questions. What are open questions? Anyone else?
The question.
I've already asked you the question. It was like.
Open questions are questions that uses what, when, where, and how.
Oh.
Yes. So these are the open questions. So I would invite you to write down a small goal. I'll give you about, how long would it take, Anastasia? Is 10 seconds okay to write down some specific questions? I'll give you some examples right now. So for example, for your goal, what is the most important to you when it comes to your goal? What's the most important thing when it comes to your goal? What will it give you?
Achievement.
I'm listing questions. Not every question is relevant to everyone, but pick the question that is most relevant to you, okay? What will reaching the goal give you? This is the second question.
Satisfaction.
What do you want to achieve in this
goal? In this goal.
How will you know you have reached your goal?
Results.
And how will you know the problems has been solved? So these are some of the questions that you can ask yourself when you identify the goals.
So it's like a SMART thing only, basically. SMART, specific, measurable.
Hi, Annie. Can I have a question about that?
Right. Yes, of course. Are you Eveline?
No, I'm Sophie. Yeah, I just muted. Annie, I have a question about setting the goals and about setting an action plan. So I find it difficult for me to setting a goal. It may sound or or read like an action plan. For example, I want to go lunch with my friends. I want to have a happy environment. Is that a goal, or is that just a simple action plan? So how to make the differences for that?
You want to go out with a friend, with
just
friends.
For example, very quickly. Okay.
So there are also differences in goals. You know, is it a short-term goal or is it a long-term goal? In business, you have goals. For example, you have KPIs, key performance indicators, and you have vision and mission, which is also a goal. Or you have long-term goals. So you have to, think about, is it a short-term goal that I have? Then what is the action plan for it?
But being happy doesn't. It can be short-term as well as long-term. Be happy every day. It can be a long-term goal as well.
Of course, but then the execution would be different.
Correct. That's right. The ways to achieve that will be, yes, you're right.
Exactly. So what do I want? What is important to you? Just taking your example, that when you go out with friends, what is important to you when it comes to going out with your friends?
Okay, so that can be a change a relationship from something that was not happy to something more harmonious. Yeah.
Yes. So again, there is a short-term goal here. When you go out with friends, is it for you? Is it your intrinsic happiness, or is it a long-term goal to improve your relationships? Right? You can break it down. What do you want at this moment? Is just, sometimes you just want to go out and shop because it'll make you happy, and that's fair. And sometimes you want to go out because you have not seen a friend for a long time and you want to get back to happy, build a relationship with this person. So these are some some questions that will make a difference to your planning. Right? Was that helpful?
About the
Thanks, Annie.
Let's thank you so much for question. Maybe we will keep the questions up into the question time. We can proceed with the presentation. Thank you.
Yes, I'm aware of the time. Thank you for reminding me. Can I have the next slide? Reality questions. I'll give you, like I said before, reality could be your objective reality. What is the time right now? What is the, where am I right now? But it is also your emotional truth, which is the most difficult part, to ask, what is my emotional truth in this? What is happening here and now for me emotionally that I want to achieve this goal? Is it really what I want, or do I want to make someone else happy with this goal? Right? So in my experience, I have had it easier with clients and also in myself when the goals are very specific and very objective. Okay, this is what I want to do. It has been more difficult when it was, the goals were more about my emotional reality. I really don't want to do this, but I'm doing this because it will make my dad happy. Right? So these kind of difficult questions will also make the process of your goal, reaching the goal, easier. So I'll give you some questions if you're writing them down, but you don't even have to write them. Yeah.
No problem, enjoy. No, it's for everybody, but you couldn't take it out.
Sorry. Okay, I'll get on with the questions. Reality is, what is happening to you now? What is the result of that? Why is this theme a problem? Sometimes we keep on trying to achieve something and it doesn't happen. And then it happens with, for example, very often with people who are trying to go into a diet or clean up their diet. So then they keep this yo-yo diet. And then you need to ask yourself, why is this theme a problem? What has been going wrong so far? But also not only focusing on the wrong, you also can focus on what has gone well so far. Why is this always a problem? And what have I done so far? These are some reality questions that you can ask. Can I go to the next slide? Opportunities and obstacles. These are, what you can do is you can start a brainstorming process, and don't judge yourself, don't blame or no shaming. There is no shaming in asking for help. If someone can give you an opportunity or someone can remove an obstacle that is stopping you from reaching a goal, go out and ask that person. Look for any little opportunity that you have, because it will do two things. One is it's a great skill to be able to acknowledge to yourself that sometimes you're not a superman or a superwoman. You're vulnerable, and people are there to help you. This is one learning that you can do. The other thing is you by asking for people to to take you somewhere in your life, you build up relationships. That's the second thing. You build relationships, and you learn to show your vulnerability to people. And also something solid in your hand is that when you have this opportunity and you take it, you're one step towards reaching your goal. So what is the harm in it? Some suggestion. Well, okay. Another thing is there are also some people that will stop you from reaching the goal. Then identify who or what is stopping you from reaching the goal, and what is the obstacle. What can I do about it? Is communication going to be simple? Can I ask for help from someone else to talk to the person? So can I ask a mentor or someone in a higher authority position that, look, this is my goal and this colleague is disturbing me, so can we do something about it? So that's also important. Some of the questions that you can ask is, what if this obstacle was not there anymore? Right? What are the pros and cons of this option or opportunity? What criteria do you use to scale that this is the best option for me right now and I'm going to do this? What else can I do? What is my other options? There should, try to have more than one options. What we say in business is plan A, plan B, plan C. So what are my plan A's? What is my plan A? What is my plan B? And what is my plan C? These are some of the questions you can ask for O. Can I go to the next slide? Will or way forward is a convergence of everything that you have done so far. This is the fourth and last step, which leaves you with only one option for now. You can always change your course and then take another step. But for now, when you come to this stage, this is the one choice that will help you to go forward. And this is a concrete plan of action. Some questions will be, I want to go this way. What exactly will I do? What is my first baby step that I need to take to go forward? What are the steps that are coming after this? If I have an obstacle, what are the concrete steps that I'm going to take to overcome these obstacles? You can also do scaling to assess how much do you want this on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the lowest and 10 being the highest. How much do you want this, right? And then, like I said, what is the one small step that is going to help me to go forward? And then comes, be consistent about it. Keep going forward until you reach that goal. And at a point you think, okay, this is the ultimate, I need to look for another strategy, start the grow process again. A lot of people think that grow is linear. It just keeps going forward and forward. That is not so. It is actually a circular process. It can also be a spiral process, as long as you keep going towards the goal. And you also have an option of changing the goal if time and space does not permit you to reach that goal for now. So, can I go to the next slide? So I would like to invite one person for a thought experiment. Let's try grow coaching process, and I would like one volunteer, and can everyone ask him or her questions, right? So one volunteer to do the grow coaching process with me, and the rest of them, please practice how to ask relevant and realistic questions. Okay, so all the questions that you have, you're welcome to write them down in the chat box. Can I have a volunteer?
Hi, Anita. Annie, I'll volunteer if
Okay.
you don't have anyone.
Go first, Lettuce.
Oh, hi, Jonas. Okay. Hi, Annie. I'll totally be a volunteer. That's fine.
Great. Thank you. So, how are you feeling?
I feel good. I'm really enjoying your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so for the rest of the participants, please feel free to write the questions in the chat box. Not every question that I ask her might be relevant for her, but she might get great support from you and find a question that speaks to her. So please support her in her goal. Okay? Is that okay with you?
Yeah,
Lettuce?
totally.
Yeah. Okay, great. So what are we looking at?
Okay, so I've identified a goal. My goal is to lose 1 stone, which is like 14 pounds.
Mm-hmm. How much is it in kilos?
I don't know in kilos, sorry.
Okay.
7
kg, thank you.
Mm-hmm. And how do you feel about the 7 kg?
To be honest, I feel like it's a big amount and it will probably not happen. Yeah.
When did you start having this goal?
Probably like 10 years, a very long time. I've been overweight a very long time.
What is the main thing that stops you from achieving the goal?
I think I'm not good at sticking to plans. So I know I should eat healthy, but I don't do it consistently. Maybe I do it for 2 weeks, then I give up for 1 month, then I do it for 3 days, then I give up for 2 months.
Okay, so your goal is to lose 1 stone.
Mm-hmm.
Can we put a time on it?
Yeah, maybe like 2-3 months, nothing crazy.
Okay, I would like you to 2 or 3 months is abstract. It's vague.
Okay.
So you know, it's okay to be kind to yourself. And you say, I will take 3 months or 4 months. That's fine, right? Or it's okay to go at it, have a go at it. So you decide.
3 months is fine. I think 3 months is good.
3 months. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Can we do a reality check? So what is happening to you now? And what's happening to you now when you want to achieve?
Right now, I don't have a food plan. Yeah, but I do exercise. I do lots of dance classes, but I don't have a food plan. I just eat what I want when I want.
Mm. And may I ask you this question? What makes you want to eat what you want and when you want?
Good point. So partly it's convenience, like junk food is very quick and easy to make. When I want, I guess then I don't have to have a routine. So I don't have to wake up at the same time every day and have breakfast at the same time. I can just wake up when I want and then I just eat when I'm hungry. Or when I'm doing an activity, like if I'm watching TV, then I like to have snacks. Great question from Anastasia. On a score of 0 to 10, how much do you want it? Maybe like 7. I want it, but I don't want to do all the hard work.
Yeah, it's a great balancing point. You want it 7, but are you putting it 7 in terms of efforts? How much is the effort that you're putting in?
A 2 maximum 2 on effort.
So what can you do? What can you do to raise that 2 of effort to maybe a 3 for in the beginning?
To raise my effort, I should probably make a plan. So I should say, what could I eat in a day? And then just check the calories aren't too much. Yeah, I think that would be okay.
May I also ask, what is the time in 24 hours that you actually break the rule that you've set up so far?
I think I break it all day long. Yeah, but especially at nighttime, like when you're watching TV or movies, that's when I have the most snacks. But I literally just break it all day long.
Okay. So what we have, just talked about right now is that you wanted on a scale of 1 to 10, 7, and your effort is 2, and the goal is to raise the effort 2. Can you give me a number on that?
I think I should raise it to 9. Like, there's nothing in my way right now. I have no obstacles or barriers other than myself. My job doesn't get in the way. No people get in my way. It's just me that gets in my way. Yeah.
And what are your favorite food to eat?
Biscuits and cakes.
Conversation I really want to continue, but I really need to we need to proceed with the next session. So thank you so much, Anin.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll continue the talk in the later letters. Okay.
You can feel free to finish the session, Anin.
Are you still there?
Anin, so finish their message.
I actually only had one question, which was, if you want to reach your goal, what is the one food that you sacrifice that will help you reach that effort of number 9 out of all the food that you want? So these worksheets are for you. This is from LifeSkills4Me, a present to the participants. Whatever goal that you have in mind, write down the goals and answer your questions. And feel free to get back to us if you were successful or not, or if we can do anything to help you in that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Annie. Thank you so much. Actually, it's so interesting. I was writing one goal, but then, with the thought experiment, now I covered 2 goals that I have in my mind. Thank you so much. It's been useful. All sessions, all questions, as Annie told, you already received by email as well. If you didn't get the worksheets, feel free to connect with us. We'll send these files. You will be able to reflect, and I find this questions very useful. Good point that Annie told us about short and long term, and about reality check things. So you can think about, okay, now you were thinking about short goal. Maybe you can reflect home later on your long-term goal. Maybe about reality check, what we had before was the attendee, right, participant saying that, like, I had this goal, but now the reality came, I cannot get it. So I think you can get that perspective into place. So feel free to reflect further. Thank you so much, Anine. It's been very...
Can I also share this book? This is a very good book for anyone who wants to use performance enhancing coaching or lifestyle. This book is called Achieving High Performance, how to apply winning principles of sports coaching in your organization, but also in your life. So this is a very good book.
Thank you.
I will write down the name of the book and we'll send you over LifeSkills WeChat platform.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you everyone, thank you. So here comes to our third part, which is our connect and care parts in the wheel of life. And it's also our third speaker, Tilman. And he's a coach and facilitator and communication expert. He has very strong experience in coaching. So he's very professional in the coaching parts. And when we asked him about what is life skill means to him, he said life skill means to have the right tools for everyday challenges, and skills can be acquired. So if we continue practicing life skills, we eventually get better in mastering our lives. And I totally agree with him. So today, he would bring us a workshop, practice and empathy skills to better connect with people you care about. In this workshop, you will have a chance to practice how to best act to someone in pain who you care about. So let's put our hands together to welcome Tilman, our third speaker.
Woo! Welcome.
Thank you. All right, now I hope you're not tired after this, all the other sessions, and I am now the one who where all the dropouts are. But I saw your the exercises, so that's great that we had some energy back. Now, I would like to know if how many people do we still have with video on? Because at the moment, I don't see really many. And for this session, because this session is about connection, it would be great if we had as many people with their video turned on as possible. Okay, I see already some more people turning on their video. That's great. Thank you very much. Because for me, as the speaker, it's really so much easier to be able to connect with you if I can see you, if I can see your faces, if I can see if you're still with me, if I have your undivided attention or not. And so that's great. Wonderful. So almost 50% of the people have turned on their video. Now, this session today is about empathy and about practical empathy. So I would like to have, I would like to demonstrate someone in pain, someone who is really in need of care and connection. Now, I want some of you to then give me empathy as good as you can. But before we do that, I would like you to assess your own empathy skills on a scale from 1 to 10. How much empathy do you think, or how much empathy skills do you actually have? So you can write this into the chat and say, on a scale from 1 to 10, how how empathetic you would think you are. All right. Wow, there's someone with 12. I will come back to that person. Okay. Good. Okay, so we have some. Whoa, 22. Unbelievable. Now, that's great. So I would like some volunteers here that would be willing to give me empathy after I demonstrated someone who really needs empathy. Who's willing? And we can start with 3, and we can have then a little bit. Okay, we have Eveline, the master of empathy, and who else? All right, Maggie. Okay, and who's that? I don't see any name here. The person, I think it was Young. Young. I remember Young from the breakout session, but there's no name. So okay, so we have 3 people at least, and even some more. Okay, so after I gave my demonstration, and I will go into acting, so it's not about me, I will go into acting, and I would like want each of you to give me empathy within like 2 or 3 sentences, maximum 1 minute, okay? And then after these 3 sessions of empathy, I will give you feedback on and how I perceived you. And you actually all can give an assessment on how empathetic you think that was. So after each session, each person giving me empathy, you can write, I receive empathy, or I demonstrate someone in pain. Okay, now, I don't know if you still heard me when I said that I would like you to write into the chat the name of the person and then on a scale from 1 to 10, how empathetic you thought this was on a scale from 1 to 10, if you were the person in pain. Okay, all right. So we had Eveline and Maggie and I think Yang or Sophie. Was it Sophie? It was Sophie. Okay, good. Okay, so I have to bring myself back into this state now. So first of all, just to give you a background, I will be someone who just lost his job, okay? And that's maybe a situation some of you encounter with friends or family members, okay? And I meet you, and I'm yeah, going to start now. Can you imagine? They have fired me. They have fired me. What shall I do now? I don't know. What shall I tell my wife? She's going to kill herself. I mean, I will never find a job like that again. And how can I survive this? I mean, I don't have saved so much money for the rainy days. But I tell you, they are going to suffer. I will only pay.
Should I start? Well, you know, I don't know what to say. It's a total shock for me as well to hear you. I mean, you've been actually really happy with this job, and I'm shocked. But, you know, take a look at the world around us right now. It's COVID-19 times. Change is the new normal. So are you just going to, you know, basically kill yourself? Because what you're doing right now is just not fair to yourself and to your wife, to your children either. So, you know, I know the situation is, I had it myself a couple of years ago, but the only thing or the only person who can just basically do this, pull you out of your own misery, is you. So, you know, think about your children and your wife. I mean, and I think, you know, your wife is not going to kill you in a glass of water when you just say something like this to her. It's just, I think you're going to make it. And remember to ask for help. Look, we're friends. We're here.
Okay, because it's still very fresh, I would like to just repeat or just give a direct feedback on how I perceived it and how it would have helped me. And then we go to the next one, okay? So what I liked was that you reflected how it was for you in terms of feelings. So you were shocked. And that you don't know what to say. So you expressed also some kind of helplessness. And of course, because this was kind of all of acting, it was maybe not as real as it would have been in a real situation. So I could not really feel it as much as you said it. So your words were not completely in line with how you came across in terms of really being with me in this moment. And one thing that you have to be careful about in a situation like that is to go and explain the world how it is, and say, look, and try to silver line, or try to say life is like that, and so on, and then trying to maybe even cheer me up you didn't do that, but it was in this direction of trying to look at this and look at that. And for someone in pain, this is not really what the person wants to hear and needs also in this moment. So what someone needs in this moment is to have someone at his side, at his level of emotion, and really be at the same eye level. So also you need to show some kind of vulnerability in this moment to feel with me. And it could be something around, I don't know what to say, wow. And another thing is that I was showing a lot of loud emotions, really going into almost screaming or really being almost aggressive. And this is something where many people do not realize when someone is there, they have to pick up that energy and reflect back that energy in this moment. So I was showing different angles. I mean, I was also going a little bit sad in the moment, and you were starting from there, which is okay. But just as a tip, if someone is in really anger state, you need to also be in that energy of high raise energy. That doesn't mean that you have to scream back, but you could say something like, wow, that seems really, you're really, really angry. Yeah, because that is what then the other person feels. You really understand, you're really seeing the other person's pain. Yeah.
Good.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. Thank you. So maybe so that it's more real again, I probably have to change again. Maybe it would be good to put on a jacket or something like that, that always changing the person.
I'll borrow your wig next time.
Sorry?
I'll borrow your wig next time so you can become somebody else for
yeah, wig, something like that. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so because I have now given feedback directly, I think it's better if I play again a little bit, so that the next person has a little bit, for the next person it's easier to go and connect with me. Okay, so I continue the story, and okay, so what can I do? I mean, it's, what will the others say? What will they say if, and all the colleagues, they know, they will finger point. They will think I'm an idiot because it was me. And
I totally relate to you because I had a similar experience before. But please, maybe this is a good sign from the universe that it is time for you to move on and really like go into yourself and rethink what you really want in life. I totally get it. It's not easy for us. You have a family, you have wife, you have kids. I mean, I'm with you, you know, even though I'm so far away from you right now, but I'm your best friend. And if you want, just every time you feel pain or frustration, give me a call and I'm here. If there's anything I can help you, don't feel vulnerable, okay? I'm here for you.
Okay, thank you. All right, now you can assess again on the scale from 1 to 10 for Maggie. A lot of what you were doing, Maggie, was more about saying things rather than doing. For example, when you say, I relate to you, that's similar to I understand you. And something that most people do when they think that this way the other person understands, that that you bring across that you understand the person. What is important is more important than saying I relate to you or I understand you, is that you demonstrate that. So the words are not that important. It's more about really going into that feeling. You were smiling a lot. Yeah. So by smiling, you were rather giving me the feeling you didn't get it. You didn't get how serious it is. And you were trying to bring me into, first of all, you were focusing your attention, the attention to yourself. You're saying, I had that experience, so I'm not important anymore in this moment. So it's important that you stay with me and you don't go to, I understand where you were coming from, and I know at a certain point in time, it's okay to do that and to say, you know, I also had that situation once, and I really know how it feels. Yeah, that is okay at a certain point, but don't do it too early, because when you do that very early, you're pulling away the attention from me to you, and I have to listen to you. But I want someone to listen to me. I want the presence, and also it was, I don't remember anymore exactly what the words were, but it was not about reflecting my feelings and my needs. And that is what empathy is really about. So it's not so much about cheering up the person. Look at the bright side of life. See, this is, you will see in this moment, it's maybe from the universe and all that. These words, I know they are coming from your heart, and they are there to help me. But in this moment, I don't want to hear this. At least it doesn't help me as much as if you are reflecting back my feelings and my needs, because what is happening in my heart is that I'm disconnected. I'm disconnected with myself. I need someone to help me to reconnect with me. And this reconnection work is actually what empathy is. So you are asking me how am I feeling like this, because is this and this really what I would like to have, for example? Yeah, so it is, and that's what I will teach you in the next session. So because we don't have so much time, I would rather like now that was the next person in the line, so to say, to give me an example after I have given you some meat, something that you can learn from. So some of the tips. So thank you, Maggie, again for your courage also, and I think you have very positive intentions in trying to do this, but maybe it's too early at this point in time. And I think that most people do that. They go too early into helping the other person not to feel like that. But as someone in pain, you want to connect with the feelings. You know, you want to know what's going on inside of you, and what this whole confusion inside of you is what keeps you so nervous. The moment you help the other person to connect with their inner needs, there is some kind of peace, even though the situation has not changed. And that's what your job is, to help me find that inner peace. But this inner peace you find only if you come and sit, so to say, next to me, and just give me your presence. Yeah. So you don't always have to talk in providing empathy. Sometimes it's just enough to just nod and keep a pause for a while. Yeah. So have a meaningful pause and show that you're there, that you're really listening. Okay, now I would like to give you some more tips, and I'm sharing my screen on this. Let me see if okay, good. So first of all, I don't know if you already received this sheet, and Anastasia, maybe you can say something. Did everyone receive these 3 sheets, or just this one, the 3?
All of it, yes.
Okay, so this means you have the feelings and needs list. Yeah, so the feelings and needs list is your help, is a kind of your munition with which you can go into a session to give someone empathy. And here is a way how to express empathy so that you have a little bit more of orientation, how you can do it. So you can say, for example, are you sad, or are you feeling lonely? Yeah, or are you feeling helpless? And then you can come up with the needs, and then you can express the need. And because support is very important to you, or let's say because connection is very important to you, or because you wish to have more support, or because you have a need for company, or because you're in need of a different kind of going to be support, whatever. So at the moment, I don't have all the needs for that situation. But if you have some kind of, and you can formulate it in a different way as well. So the most important is that it's natural. So you don't have to use this in a mechanical way, but keep it as a guide for yourself, that you ask the other person and don't make a claim, you're feeling like this. Try to make a guess. Are you feeling like this because what you need is this, or because this is really important for you, or you would wish to have this and that? Yeah. So with this, you help the other person to listen into themselves, and maybe they say, no, it's not so much this, but I think it's more that. And then you have done your job. It's not that you have to make the right guess. It's about helping them to connect with themselves. Yeah. So you are just helping. You're like a facilitator for them to connect with themselves. That's what empathy is, in combination, of course, with presence. And when you are trying to go into look at this, look at that, you are not meeting the person where they are. Yeah. So here's a list of do's and don'ts. So some of them we have seen already now. So if we look at the don'ts, you can see there is like coming up with a solution or advice. That's one of those that very often the men do when they want to give empathy, because they are all about finding a solution, giving advice. But it does happen also to women that they do this. Then we had that with Eveline, talking about your own experience. And then go into this rational explaining of the situation, why the situation like that. We have COVID-19, so this is normal. Yeah, this is not something you want to hear. You know that already, and it's more bringing yourself into a teacher mode. So more like putting yourself above the other person. What the person needs in this moment is someone at eye level. And because you are in this moment as someone in pain, you're in a not okay state. So you feel, I'm not okay. You don't need someone else to say, I'm okay, you're not okay. You need someone who comes down to your not okayness. Then saying, I understand you, or I relate to you are just words. And it's more important here to really demonstrate it. So rather don't say it, rather really try to demonstrate it. Interruption, of course, is not good for showing that you're really listening and present, being present, and trying to keep these pauses, not going into when the other person stops talking, that you directly have to speak. Keep a pause. Maybe there's more to come. Yeah, and don't make any claims or analyze, diagnose, or judge. This is something that I can share with you. When that was like something like 6.5 years ago, when I was starting my journey on empathy. Before I thought I was empathetic, and I just joined a course of nonviolent communication or compassion communication, because at that time I had a girlfriend who was very violent in the way of expressing herself. And I thought, I don't actually need that, but for her to go, I go with her. So I went there and I realized that I was not giving empathy. What I was doing analysis. I was analyzing and diagnosing people and then giving them advice. And I thought that was empathy. And it was really hard for me to realize that. But in fact, you are able to learn that. And you have just to suppress some of your natural reactions that come up when you want to bring someone back into, because for us it's also painful sometimes to stay there and to realize that someone is suffering, and if you want to connect with that person, you have to be open to an experience for yourself that reminds you maybe also of suffering. And that is something that most people don't want to do. They want to stay up there in the area where they are less vulnerable, and then it sounds more like looking down on them and saying, oh, like, why don't you come up here? Yeah. So it's also this these empty phrases about, come on, that's life and get over it, and you just have to accept it. We all have to deal with this, or it's not that bad, look at the bright side. So these things that go, or look at the advantages of this, all this is something the other person doesn't want to hear, really. Instead, really, what you can do is for yourself, by the way, as a training, and that's also what that worksheet is about, that you are using self-empathy to practice with yourself, because you can only give empathy to someone else if you regularly practice that with yourself. You have to come first for yourself. And when you can really connect with your feelings and needs, then you're much easier or much more comfortable to feel those in others, and let's say to share and help them to connect with their feelings and needs. So one way is, of course, that you just try to paraphrase what they are saying, and that means that you should maybe say it more often than you think. Sometimes people really enjoy hearing their own words, or hearing that you really understand it because you repeated it several times. So don't give up, don't go on to the next too quickly, so that can really help. I already mentioned the pauses, and of course the body language plays a role, that you really nod with some understanding and mirror that energy. Yeah. So if someone is really angry, really show in your voice that you have heard them, that you know that they are angry. And yeah, I said that you already that you have to connect with something painful in yourself. So it's not so easy always to give empathy. Slow down and be present, and be aware that you don't want to judge now, or don't want to give advice. And the one of the things that I recently also learned is when you ask someone, what does that mean for you? That can really open up a whole story. Recently, my wife was, I see we don't have so much time left. I'm almost about 30 minutes. So I just want to finish that story quickly. When my wife recently came home, and she was really angry because the hairdresser cut her hair this much more than the hairdresser was supposed to, and my wife's hair is like until here. Yeah, so let me unshare my screen again. So this was a situation where, as a man, I would have said something like, come on, it's going to grow again. It's not so bad, you know. And instead, what I did was I was reminding myself of that, or she's in pain, so I have to take that seriously now. So I was giving her a hug and really trying to and sit down with her and saying, what does the hair mean to you, really? And then she said, well, you know, when I was a teenager, I always wanted to have long hair, and my mother wouldn't allow me, and she would always cut my hair, and because she didn't want to have all that hassle with long hair and washing long hair and so on. So, but for me, it's so important. It's part of my identity as a woman. So I really want to have my hair long. And if someone comes and cuts it off at a length where I'm not comfortable with, it's as if they cut my identity. So I really understood so much just by asking, what does it mean for you? Yeah. So, it just shows that you can really dig deeper, and my wife felt so understood in this moment. I would have not been able to give her empathy in this way 6 years ago. So I can tell you that it's really a skill you can learn if you practice regularly. And what I can really highly recommend is everything to do with compassion communication, nonviolent communication. That is really helpful to learn this skill and to become better in connecting and caring for other people. So since the time is up, I guess we can't really do another session here. So maybe I open the microphone for question answers, or Anastasia, you have to guide me.
Yes, exactly. We actually have
I don't hear you yet.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, now. Yes, now.
So we actually have already questions that people asked you. So let's proceed with these questions. Yeah, thank you so much for insightful talk. Actually, I have a goosebump now, still digesting the information. Thank you. Yeah, and the question goes, the first question was, what is the balance between reflecting others' feelings and making it worse? If a person says everything is horrible, wouldn't he, she feel worse if you keep agreeing instead of saying, no, it's not that bad?
Good question. I think it's always a question of timing. If you, well, at the beginning, the other person just wants to feel you are with them, you understand them, and you feel with them. And of course, people that go into victim mode and are trying to really see the world around them as the enemy and don't see any responsibility by themselves. That's especially hard to see if you yourself are more of that person that takes responsibility for things. What I try to do in this moment is really to translate the way people express their feelings in a victim way. I feel left alone. Something like that, for example, would be a way to express a judgmental feeling, which means that you are in a victim mode. And at this moment, you can translate it into, so you really feel lonely. Yeah, so you can take out the judgment and try to focus on the feeling that that helps them to reconnect with their heart rather than still being in their head. And that's really what the job is, to connect them with their heart. And normally the solution comes by themselves, by itself, when you help them to connect. But it's, after a while, after maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes, a half an hour, 1 hour, how long you want to spend with someone, it's okay then to say, maybe we talk about this another time, and you stay a little bit with yourself now. If you really felt that you did a little bit of connection work with them, and in a different mood after a while, people are then also open to maybe to advice or to looking at this, looking at that. But don't be too fast. Your inner patience or inner impatience is sometimes not the right guide.
Oh. Great. And we have one more question that was in the chat, and unfortunately I see someone wants else to ask the question. Yeah. Please write in the box, okay? We have an earlier person that wrote it, and we'll be happy to answer it. Sure. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
The other question who wrote it was, what if the person keeps complaining but never changes anything in her life? For example, partners are complaining about each other's for years but never break up or get counseling. What would you suggest?
I would say probably it's a good way to, let's say, good idea to do some coaching with that person and try to ask some questions like from the grow model that we heard about what would it be, what would the future look like in an ideal way, and then try to and how important it is to you. I heard some great questions here already. Now, if you really make that person dream and try to ask them, for example, what would it mean for you if that would happen? If tomorrow you wake up and everything is different, how would it be? And what would you be like? And so this way, with these questions, you can bring the attention to something else that is in the future, in the imagination, and that feels much better. And the brain cannot distinguish between the reality and the imagination so much. So that's a way how you can guide the person into that different feeling.
Thank you so much. And I saw there are more and more questions coming over, and we would love to keep talking to you, but unfortunately we need to say for now thank you, but we'll definitely keep in touch. And as I told, everyone can write the questions in the chat box, and we'll find a way to answer either on this conference or in some kind of private one-to-one WeChat or email. So thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, and I just want to say, if there are some people that want to go deeper or that feel like that is something I want to learn more about, I can just recommend to join my workshops. I do webinars on this, on compassion communication and other communication topics that are related. The next ones will be probably 23rd and 28th of July. So I can share it in the group then next time.
Exactly. Yes, thank you. As we mentioned, this is the part that we will get in the worksheets. You will see a list of the feelings and the list of needs. So then later on, when we had this example, what Tilman told, that the questions that we can ask people, you can use this information in the worksheet and actually practice the just delivered workshop. Again, the reminder, this is how their worksheet looks like. It's a yellow and kind of pinkish color. That is the questions related to this workshop. And with not further ado, Jessica, we would love to continue.
Thank you, Tilman and Nana, for the short summary. So here comes to our last speaker, Matthieu, and actually this is the part to cover two parts in the wheel of life, which is do and earn parts. So this part will lead by our speaker, Matthieu. He's the CEO of GeoFrancis, a clean tech startup map wasted. And actually he stayed in Shanghai and Hong Kong like after 9 years, and he moved to Amsterdam this April. And in China, he was helping community of entrepreneurs and innovators grow across the region. And what does life skill means to him? He said, life skills are meant to help you understand how to positively impact people around you. They give meaning and excitement to every social interactions you have. So today, he will bring us a workshop about find and develop your side hustle. So let's put our hands together to welcome our fourth speaker, Matthieu.
Thank you very much, Jessica, and thank you very much. Thank you very much, everybody. It's hard to be the last one after 3 very, very good talks. But so my name is Matt. As you heard already from my accent, I'm French. I've spent 9 years of my life in Shanghai and incredible Hong Kong. And it was heartbreaking to leave the continent and move to the Netherlands, Amsterdam. But thankfully, I was able to find an incredible job at GeoFluxus, which is a European clean tech and gov tech startup. We take all the different data points that are available in Europe and put that on a map to help governments visualize how the waste flows around their city. But what I want to talk with you tonight, even though for me it's in the middle of the afternoon, is side hustles. I've had so many different side hustles, to the point where actually for a couple of years, side hustles were representing almost half of my revenues. It's no longer the case. Since then, I moved continent, plus now I have a 7-month-old baby girl, and that definitely changed how I was doing everything. But I want to share with you a bit of my experience, and starting with what do we mean by side hustles. Jessica, if you can move on the next slide, please. Yeah, so side hustle, typically when you think about that, is any type of employment that you take beside your full-time job, right? Jessica, if you can move to the next slide, please. To me, it's a very limited approach and limited understanding of side hustles. I think it's more of a journey, right, that we all individually take to eventually get to a stage where you have some of your incomes coming from other activities. But in general, it's putting together the blocks, the projects, activities that will get you there as fast as possible. Jessica, next, please. And side hustles really look differently for everybody. To some, it might be doing freelancing. To others, it might be turning some of their interests into becoming a KOL. To some, again, it might be creating an online store on Taobao or whatever. And this is what makes side hustles so versatile for anybody. Jessica, next slide, please. Now, there is something that I totally get when I have this conversation with friends, is the fact that we are all so freaking busy. There is just so much going on all the time. And I think we've all figured out ways to really pack our days. So to me, the first big question is, how do we make time to actually start developing side hustles? Jessica, next slide, please. And so the way I was seeing life before, is having this chunk of time, right, during your day where you are in the commute and spending time at work with your colleagues and friends. What I've discovered, though, is that by structuring a bit of your morning and a bit of your evening, you are able to create this environment where you can be successful in developing your side hustles. Please go a bit slow. Okay, I will try to chill. So no, Jessica, please, next slide. So in the morning, I don't know if you've heard about this, but there is a concept called a morning routine. And the idea is, as soon as you wake up, you already have some chunk of activities that you can follow. Of course, it's never going to look the same from one day or the other. You can adapt this from Monday, Tuesday, etc. But what I've discovered is that if I were able to structure my mornings and be active, be mindful, eat well, I was able to set my day in a very successful direction. And I've realized that no matter what would happen at work, because I had my morning routine properly set up, I felt like I was winning already, right? I had exercised, I had a great meditation sessions, and all of these things really helped me be a stronger human being. What I've discovered as well is during the morning, by accumulating so many different experiences, I was also becoming a lot more creative. And when I was running outside, for example, I was kind of spontaneously coming up with new ideas. Also, on my way to work, I was reading news and I was keeping myself up to date with people that inspire me or new ways of creating side hustles. So that's how I started shaping my mornings. And what I've realized is the fact that the evening is just as important. And instead of coming back from work and feeling absolutely exhausted, I could structure the time in a way that I still had the energy and the excitement to do specific things. And eventually, right, after multiple months of crafting, fine-tuning, and experimenting, I realized that I could spend my evening in really hustling, right? So building these new projects, connecting with new people, and eventually, and something that was always very important to me, unwind. To me, after 10 p.m., it was impossible to have people reaching out to me. I needed to place all of my smart devices somewhere else and start shutting down, opening a great book and going for it. And what I've realized is that this really allowed me to create a successful space to implement activities that I felt were productive. Next slide, please, Jessica. Now is the time when I would like you to look at your worksheet, and hopefully you've been able to put your hands on it. Otherwise, the questions are mentioned here. Please take the next 10 to 15 seconds to look at 3 activities that you're doing, not at work, but outside of work, that you think you could spend less time on. Now, the goal is not to create a mindset where you are removing things that are important to you. I'm talking about activities that if you do, half as much, it's more than enough. And at the same time, try to look at activities that if you were starting them step by step, you would feel that your day is more structured. You're building a winning type of day. And I'm going to give you 15 seconds. I've realized that I have a lot to share, so I won't have time to take some of your answers, but feel free to write them down in the chat. It might be helpful to other people to get some of your own ideas. Jessica, next slide, please. Now, these are, things that you can start implementing, but there are a few big ideas that I've realized from my experience. And the first one is actually the second point: never go all in. A few years ago, I was a little overweight and I tried to look at different ways of doing it. And I've realized that I didn't want to completely change the way I was behaving. I wanted to go step by step because my goal was not to lose weight immediately. It was to change the way I was having a relationship with food and exercise and all these things. And it didn't matter if I was successful in a month, if 6 months from now I was back to my old habits. So I had that long-term path, which meant that I could get step by step, very smoothly, very simply, without disgusting myself. The second thing that I realized was really important was noticing when a routine, a new activity really became a routine. Because something that I've observed is if I try to do too many things at once, too many new things at once, I'll fail. I really wanted to make sure that I go step by step, right, on very long period of time, which is typically things that people struggle to do, right? They always want immediate results. I went the other way around. How can I do things on the long term? And something that was important was noticing when was a routine finally a routine. And I've realized that to me, it's roughly 6 to 8 weeks, right? So if I do something consistently, pretty much every day, over 6 to 8 weeks, if I stop doing it for a couple of days, I'll feel like I'm missing it. And to me, it's the sign that I can then move on the next set of activities or tweaks or adjustments. The third big important point from my own experience is the fact that experimenting is a continuous process. Now that I've moved to the Netherlands, there are so many things that I've had to change in my life. But something that I'm really happy with is I can run outside and be fine with it. I'm not scared that a quaidi or anybody is going to run me over. What I've realized though is I have really good sensations when I was running, but I was starting to injure my knees and my feet. So even if I was comfortable having good vibes in running, I've realized that I needed to keep on experimenting. And this is something that I really like. It's the fact that I'm not supposed to compare myself with others. I'm just supposed to compare myself to how it was a week ago, months ago, a year ago. And that is very empowering and freeing at the same time. Something that I've also realized is the fact that as you're putting all of these routines together, you will feel that you have a lot more energy, a lot more creativity. You're a lot more communicative with others. And that's going to have an impact on the people around you. Also because they will have to realize that your agenda is shifting a little bit. What I've realized though is it's so important to accept that other people are not in the same state of mind and in the same stage of their journey. So always be nice about it. And, it's so important for me to not come off as somebody who, I've been able to create a morning routine. I'm so much better than everybody else who haven't been able to do that, right? Like, let's be nice about it. And the last thing, my friends hear me saying it again and again. It's so okay to fail. We live in my opinion, especially in Shanghai, we live in a society where, you know, we always want to show the best of ourselves, right? And so we assume that the first thing we try needs to be a success. To be successful on the long run, it's meaningless to have these quick wins. The most exciting ones are the ones that really improve how you behave on the long term. Jessica, next slide, please. So let's talk about side hustles now. The first part was really about figuring out how do we create the space, the environment. Now let's talk about how do we actually get started with the side hustle. Looking back at your worksheet again, the simple way of getting started with a new project is by assessing some of the pain points that you've observed for yourself or around you over the last 3 to 6 months. But talking about pain points is always a little bit complicated because we are not aware until somebody is creating a solution to solve it for you. So if you don't have any problems that come to mind and there's nothing that you can write in your worksheet, look at 2 topics that you really enjoy talking about with your friends. And I find that actually this thing is a lot more tangible for most of us. I have great friends, ex-colleagues, who've realized that they love talking about great food whenever they travel. And that's how they started the side hustle, a WeChat page, right? So don't worry too much, but try to come up within the next 15 to 20 seconds with 2 things that kind of get you excited. And again, a friendly tip, don't overthink this part of the process. It's not about succeeding at your first try. Again, I couldn't count the number of side hustles that I've tried because the goal is not about the number of tries that you're taking, right? So start having this mindset of we'll just experiment and see what comes out of it. I'm going to give you a little more time. I know that I'm rushing. I'm seeing some chats. I'm sorry about that. Next slide, please, Jessica. This is one that I really like because we're suddenly moving from things that capture your interest into things that you can actually start building. One question that you can ask yourself right now, and of course over the next few months, is what kind of businesses have started catching your attention? You might be following a few KOLs already on social media. You might be really excited about how small brands launch new healthy products. You might be really excited about how to create a consulting business. Look at these patterns and your interest. And next slide, please, Jessica. And they would most likely fit into some of these categories. Don't worry if it's not written here. But the idea is that you're probably observing things that have been done before, that have been understood, and things that you can follow a little bit, right? When you start a side hustle, you do not need to reinvent the wheel. You can just look at best practices that are already out there, right? And there are so many people that have already shown the way on how we can make an impact. And this is really interesting because you do not have to worry too much. You can really spend a bit of time in creating kind of your circle of people that you get inspired from. Carol is key opinion leader, and you follow their footsteps a little bit, and that makes this so much simpler. Because again, a side hustle is something that you can spend a bit of time on and will get results. So do not reinvent the wheel. Jessica, next slide, please. Yes. When I look at my own side hustles, there are a few things that I've had to accept eventually. I've realized that, for example, I'm terrible at raw creativity. So when I was sitting in front of a blank piece of paper, trying to figure out what new things I could be building from the ground up, I was failing immediately. On the other hand, what I've realized is that I'm pretty good at getting things done. And you can see with the speed at how fast I'm talking, I like to get this kind of startup hustling mindset, right? I'm good at getting things done. So now when I'm looking at starting a new side hustle, I'm not going to be at the inception. I'm going to be more about putting the right people together, including somebody who's really good at creativity, and I'll be helping them in achieving their own goals. And that's how I'm creating a lot of value for them. And that's how I see myself creating new side hustles. Next slide, please, Jessica. Yes, awesome. So if I was to kind of put all of this together, this is my own process. It should not be yours, but I think it's important for you to see how pretty straightforward and simple these things actually are. Over the past few years, I've had to accept that I needed to make time. I needed to unbusy myself. And the new activities that I was accepting into my agenda had to be structured and my choices. So making time was always the starting point. And now that I have a baby girl who has her own agenda that I can't change at all, I'm still trying to figure out how I can make time in between the feed and poop or diaper changing. But this is something that I see really as a strong starting point. And when we loop this back to the life skills, I realized that it really trained me into self-managing and doing less procrastination, right? Because I have this structure in place. I know that I need to hit these things very quickly before moving on the next activities. The second stage, oh, sorry, Jessica, one back. The second stage, which is connect with people, explore new ideas, develop critical thinking. Again, I've realized that I'm terrible at creativity, so I'd rather connect with people. And I try to engage with more and more individuals who have brilliant ideas in many different circles and explore new ideas with them. Also, because of all of my previous side hustles and activities and projects, associations, all of these things, I've developed a critical way of thinking, which helped me understand to my level, right? What might work and what might not. And this helped me eventually select what I want to spend more time on. The third step is say yes to participate, learn, try. When I met with Anastasia, it was part of a startup weekend, which is a hackathon type of event. And these are all things that I was saying yes to. What you are realizing when you want to start side hustles is the fact that it's really hard to see where everything comes from. So by saying yes, you're proactively allowing yourself to figure out what's going to fit for you. Fourth step, multiply experiments. What is so important is to accept that our way may not be the best way. That's perfectly fine. Let's figure out how we can do more of something. To be honest, I'm French, so doing public speaking is not something that we are naturally good at. But because I've multiplied and experimented how I could communicate my own ideas, I've been able to step by step improving the way I was doing it. And this is really helping me get comfortable in weird new situations. Fifth step, build, execute, and solve problems. This is something that really, to me, crystallize starting a side hustle. And then the final one is really showing up. You are here tonight. You've decided to join this call. There is a reason, right? You've decided that it was so much more valuable than being on social media or watching something on Netflix. And showing up is really, really most of the work done. So keep having this mindset of fighting a bit against yourself and showing up. You will see that it's going to create major, major impact. And next slide, please, Jessica. So if I was to wrap up everything that I've shared, looking at your worksheet, hopefully you've been able to come up with a few ideas. At this stage, I would typically try to cross all of the answers, but one at each kind of questions. And I would not try to overthink it. Intuitively, and from my opinion, there are things that I would feel are much more achievable. And this is something that you can do now or later on. You look at how you answered the questions and erase all the ones, well, not erase, but just cross, right? All the ones except the one that you intuitively think has more potential. And then write it down, right? That should be right under this question. Write down your first experiment. I will try to slow down how much time I spend on this activity. And I will try to add this other activity that I think is going to help me do more of something. there is this idea that I've talked about with friends, and I want to explore it a little bit. And because I'm really motivated by what vlogging might be, I'll explore how people are doing this right now. And you can do this process again and again, especially when you may not be succeeding. You look again at this worksheet and you try this once again. Next slide, please, Jessica. There is something that has always been important when I was looking at a new side hustle, or typically when I finish a meeting. It's what's next? How do we go from having this conversation, which is awesome and super full of energy, and try to really make this concrete? And the best, simplest way of doing it is by identifying one objective that you want to achieve by a clear deadline. And the other speakers have talked about this before. I totally embrace this idea that you need to have things that are achievable with a clear deadline. And then my favorite one, because I respond extremely well to peer pressure, write down 2 people who can hold you accountable, right? So once you've done this exercise, you send a few WeChat messages to 2 of your great friends, and you say, this is what I want to achieve by next weekend. Please hold me accountable. Ping me and make sure that I've done this. And if peer pressure works for you, trust me, you're going to get things done. Next slide, please. Okay, so I'll try to kind of put things together. The first one is look around for good ideas and how to turn them into a good experiment. Do not overthink this part. The goal is not to be successful at the first one. The goal is to be eventually successful. Time is your ally right now. You can do as many experiments as you want. So don't get stopped at the very first one. It just does not make sense. Second point, allocate time, be consistent, focus on the long game. There are moments in my life I've burned out, I've been depressed, and this is absolutely fine. It's okay. We are just all humans. The goal is on the long run. We are eventually finding, again, how to keep on improving ourselves. So allocate time, be consistent, but it's completely okay if from time to time you drop the ball. And the third one, give yourself weekly objectives. Sometimes they will work, sometimes they won't. Again, it's completely okay, but it's important that you keep yourself accountable. And now, when we talk about weekly objectives, we're not saying, you know, I'm going to lose 2 kg by next week. That's not the point. The goal might be, okay, maybe I will stop eating treats after 8 p.m. This is something that had great results on me. And this is something that I was actually able to work on. Yep. Next slide, please, Jessica. There are a few books that I really like. The first one is Tribe of Mentors. This book gives me so much energy, so many new ideas, and different ways of improving my processes. Tribe of Mentors by Tim Ferriss is a book really interesting for that. Tim Ferriss has been interviewing exceptional people, mostly from the Western part of the world. So there might be some equivalent in Chinese and for China. But if you're curious about, you know, how so many exceptional sports people, politicians, business people have achieved their own goals, that's a great book. The second one is one that blew my mind and that I've recommended to a lot of my mentees who really appreciated the smooth learnings. The Courage to be Disliked is probably a fake conversation between a monk, I think, and a potential apprentice. And it has some touches of stoicism, some touches of philosophy. And in general, it really helps being so much more aware of right now. And this is something that is both empowering and liberating. So whenever you feel a bit down, I recommend for you to check it out. It's going to really create a positive impact. The one resources that really changed how I was running Side Hustle is one that you may not have heard of. It's card.co. When we think of side hustles, very often there is a web page involved, and Card is a very cheap landing page builder. It works in China, and it helps you put a bunch of, it's drag and drop, right? So you don't have to worry at all about coding. And it helps you be out there online and convey whatever you are working on, which I think is really empowering when you're starting side hustles or building a profile for yourself, a speaker profile, for example. You will get the slide, so you can click on the fourth resource, which is a URL hosted on Notion, a great tool, where you can do this exercise of testing your ideas. So you would go through a brainstorming stage, and then the table has different steps for you to follow, so you can see where you're at and select the one you'd like to experiment on. And in general, when we think of side hustles, many people have in mind different barriers, right? Oh, I don't know how to code, I don't know how to design, I don't know how to do all of these things, right? The reality is that there are many, many entrepreneurs all over the world that figured out tools to help you overcome these skills problems. So check out online the no-code movement, and you'll be impressed by how many resources are available to people like you and I to go beyond our fears of delivering something and instead focus on creating value, which I found so empowering. Final slide, please, Jessica, the next one. I think I'm still on time. Yeah, so thank you very much for listening. Feel free at any time to reach out to me. This is my email address. Connect on LinkedIn. I would love to hear how you're doing it, what you're discovering, and if you need any help, really feel free to ping me. And having said that, thanks again for listening. Thanks again for everybody. And if you have any questions, and if we still have a few minutes, feel free to ask anything.
Yes, we would love to have several still questions asking for Matthieu. Thank you so much for delivering that insightful workshop. A very powerful insight for me is like the 3 things that I should stop. I actually wrote down, and will do my best to do that. And then the project that I want to continue. Thank you so much. So we'll move on with the questions. And
so first, the question was about what is KOL and how does it work?
So KOL is, so if you're working in the marketing industry in China, you will hear a bunch of debates, but KOL is basically somebody who is on social media and shares content that the followers would act on, right? So it's like a key opinion leader. You have some opinion and people would tend to follow because of who you are, what you say, what you do. So in China, it's all the rage. I don't have any concrete and recent examples, but if you Baidu this, you will hear a bunch of literature on it.
Mm-hmm. And there was another question, actually, a very good one. What if you are saying yes to too many things for too many hustles? So what should we do?
Yes, that's a great question. I think it's almost an interesting experiment. And I've tried to do it, and I've realized that I can't do more than 3 at any given time, beside my full-time job. And at 2, I'm really delivering a lot of value. So test that for yourself. I think it depends on at which state of mind you are, at which, what kind of productivity you can deliver, how willing you are also to develop these side hustles. I don't think there is a ultimate number. It's your number at that moment in time. Again, when our baby girl was born 7 months ago, I anticipated that it would go from 2 to 3 to 0. So I had to pause a bunch of them. And now I'm in a stage where I'm starting to look into restarting a few.
Mm-hmm. Nice, amazing, thank you. Anina told about the use grow check, reality check. Actually, that's a really interesting that you're referring to some sessions before about like take accountability body, like for connect category. Then Tilman was mentioning about grow category, like use the questions from grow. So we can see that it's actually really wheel of life, like all the parts of the puzzles coming together, and it's amazing that we are now getting inspired on the part of their work, the projects, the hustles that we want to start. I think we will thank you, Matthieu. Thank you so much for the insights. And again, I'm encouraging everyone to write in their chat any questions you have, and we'll encourage speakers to get back to you. So thank you so much again. So let's give a round of thumbs up and applause. Okay, this. Ta-da. Okay, thank you again. And again, to remind maybe for people who just joined us, speakers told a lot of time about worksheets. So we do encourage you to actually download them. If you don't have that, please write to our email, LifeSkills4Me HQ, gmail.com, and then we'll send it to you. You can reflect, you can plan the things, you can cross out things that you told, you can put inside. And I think when all the pieces coming together, all their part of their puzzles, right, coming together, the wheel coming together, now hopefully you will be even better understanding of how, for example, starting their hustle with their communication, let's say, aspect from, let's say, connection category. I saw there were several other questions that we didn't answer, so I will ask Maria, my teammate, please write down it in the chat box, and for the speakers, if we're still, like for the ones who are still with us, they can reply us for that questions. And we'll move on with our last session, which is advocates time. This is actually the part when everyone comes on the stage and share. So I'll give the word to Jessica to continue to share more a little bit about it.
Okay, thank you. So here comes our last part of this conference, so which is keep our traditional as LifeSkills4Me advocates time. So for people who enjoy our events for a few hours, and if you would like to share, please text one like in the chat box so I can call your name.
And maybe before we do that, we can give an example of how we are doing it.
Okay, first I would like to invite Maria to set as an example. Maria?
Okay, yes. Hi, everyone. So then I will send the questions to the group a bit later after my sharing. So I would like to share my experience about the Wheel of Life that I've created recently. You could see that in the video at the beginning of our event. So first, when I started looking into that, I was doing something simple like this, right, on the piece of paper. You can see that. But then I decided to go more bright and creative and visual. So I did something like that. And in the video that you can see that I'm putting that on my fridge, but actually right now I keep it on my table. So every time I wake up, go sit down, open my computer to work, the first thing I see is my Wheel of Life, and I look at it and I actually think about, for example, here I have only 4 areas that I want to work on, because as Matthieu said, it's important to go step by step. So I've decided to pick 4 areas for now, and then I'm going to pick other areas. So because I know that if I pick like all of them, I would not be able to focus or implement new habits, right? So for example, as you can see here, I have the category do, which relates to my work and projects, which is doing pretty well. And I have the category Be Well, which is health and sports, which I have only 1 picture for it, which means that it's not doing very well considering all the lockdown situation, the absence of gym in my life. So that is something I want to emphasize on and focus on every day. And also what I did, I looked at the list of the categories. You can also find it in the worksheet file that we've sent you, and try to come up with some ideas on what daily things you could track, you could implement to invest in improvement of these areas. So that's why on the back of my Wheel of Life, I have the tracker of my habits. So as you can see, I've also separated it by colors. So for example, the category Be Well is pink. So I have the habits that are pink that are related to the category. In my case, those are exercise, 8 hours sleep, and meditation. And orange would be connect, which is interacting with friends online or offline, and talking to my parents, which is also very important because we're not in the same city at the moment. For example, for the category rest, I have, for the category for the category do, I have one of my projects here. So I also track my investment in terms of time every day. So I think it's a good idea to have it very bright and visual somewhere. I know that it might take time. Well, it took me some time to do that, but also it's a way of reflecting and really thinking about maybe what are the colors that represent each of the areas. So for me, it was useful. And basically, one of my tips now is just to have it somewhere in front of you, because those who know me, you know that I love notebooks, workbooks, and things like that. But every time when I need to look, when I use my workbooks for creating this inspirational thing, I needed to open it up every time. But now I keep it on my table, so every time I wake up, I see this or that, and it stimulates me and motivates me every day. So that's pretty much my tip. Use some colors, add some colors to your life. It's a very dull time for a lot of us, considering the situation. I don't know, I know that in China, it's okay now, but I mean, if you're somewhere else, then probably you would need some more colors in your life. Yeah, thank you so much. I'm going to share more questions to the speakers in the group.
Yeah, thank you, Marie. Actually, Marie is our also organizer of the conference. She's a part of our team, and all, you know, their amazing visuals, all the worksheets, designs, all the posters, you know, it's her work. So thank you, Maria, for all your contributions, for all, you know, our support for the community. I thank you for sharing this useful part about visualization of your dreams and of your desires. Thank you. And we saw there were other people who would love to join, so we'll still have several people who will join. Thank you. We want to remind that we'll keep it to 1 to 3 minutes sharing. And please introduce yourself.
Okay, my name is Nader. I am Egyptian, and I have been working as an English teacher for the last 14 years in China.
Oh.
And 7 years ago, I started working in an international school. And there's 1 month probation, you know, and I thought, like, I'm a good teacher. I've been working for another 7 years, but I think I was very bad. I was the worst teacher that they actually fired me. But then they gave me an opportunity to join the school again to teach adults. And during these 7 years, I think I really improved a lot. That now my students like really love me, and the school has been like renewing my contract year after year. I've just signed another year for the 8th year.
And how do you think others can learn from your experience? What other?
I think the key here was that I took the full responsibility for what happened. I never blamed the school or the students or any situation. That I said, now I'm the adult in the class, and this was my mistake. And I have to learn and see how can I improve in this situation. So I think this is how I really improve.
Thank you so much. I think the part of what you are saying, that we were talking earlier, right? Reality check, the assessment check.
Yeah.
Understanding what is happening about you, and understanding that there is also my ownership of my own life. Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
Thank you. You became our 89 actual advocate, as you can see here in the pictures below. We give our small certificates to notify that every person who come on the stage, they will have a small certificate notifying that they shared the skill and the suggestion from their life to others. So thank you so much. You became our 89. Yeah, the speaker from bilingual branch in Shanghai as our official headquarters. And thank you. Anyone else would love to share?
I would like to recommend a book.
Okay, yes.
It's called King, Warrior, Magician, Lover. I'm not sure if anybody heard about this book. It's a book because I think this one of the books that like really changed my life. And you have to realize that I'm an avid reader. I read a lot. But because this book speaks about the side of a whole man, and how can you develop from being a child to a man. But I think the real question, or Okay, I will write the book. I will write the book name. The real question here, the real problem that most men are facing, that you think that you have to focus on a side of your personality, but the book gives that, in fact, you have to focus on the 4 sides. Of course, one side will be dominant one way or another, but the book really helped me imagine what should I do and what was my mistakes in the past and how to avoid them. I will write the book name now.
Yes, thank you, Ada, for sharing. And the next will be our Yao, right? Please.
Hi, everyone. So first, I would like to send my appreciation for all the speakers' amazing speeches, and I really learned a lot from the sharing. And so here, I would like to share my own experience to how to use time effectively. So since Matthieu mentioned Tim Ferriss' work, I think the most famous work by Tim Ferriss would be the 4-hour work week, right? It's kind of like a Bible for the digital nomad circle. And also this book supported me to become kind of like a global citizen on the go, and also travel across North America to South America last year. And also I was doing my digital nomad work. So I think the book is really amazing, and everyone who considering freelancing or digital nomad work could read that book. And also, if you want to just daily grab some ideas or just borrow Tim Ferriss' brain on the go in a very convenient and also effective way, you can follow his podcast on Apple Podcasts or some online streaming audio platforms. I think it's gonna provide you a lot of new ideas and how to become a digital nomad and how to realize your finance independence. That's basically I want to share.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm gonna type the name in the group chat. Yeah.
Okay, great, perfect.
You became our 19th advocate of the bilingual branch in Shanghai. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. So we will have last one. Anyone want to share?
All right. Okay, so this is not something what I've experienced, but it's the current situation in my country. So there was a actor who is 34 years old. His net worth is $6 million, and he actually rose up from a common man status, and he committed suicide last week. And we are all actually struggling. Everyone is like surprised why exactly he did it, because he's not just an actor, but he majored in physics. He talked a lot about quantum physics. He had 3 companies in artificial intelligence. So basically he's a very intelligent person. But we are right now in a big dilemma, the whole country, why exactly he did it. So the thing that surfaced out is sometimes friends, parents, brothers, sisters, and others may not be able to understand what exactly you're going through. So that is the time you actually go to a professional and really put your mental health forward and not take it for granted. You should actually, when you don't know what to do or you don't understand what's going on in your life, that's when you need to ask for a help, and do not feel shy to ask for a help. That's it. Yeah, that's just what I want to share.
Thank you for sharing. I think during the lockdown time, everyone experienced a lot, and glad you share your story that happened around you. And actually, I would like to share something based on this 3 parts situation. And early this year, I was talking to Nana, we call her. And we want to start an event like a yearly event, because due to the current situation, we want to do something for our community. That's the original intention that we will start this the Wheel of Life. And I'm very happy to see all the things work out today, and all the amazing speakers and audience who share your story, insights, or experience, or something that to inspire you. I think that's really important, that even when the difficult time, we still have a community that to give us the opportunity to share and to connect with people around us. And I think that's the meaning that we do these events, the wheel of life, because there's so many parts of life that we experience every day, and how we learn from it and how we manage it better. That's the some skills that we need to learn. And I think, and I also hope these events, after the events, you can really take away something that you can apply to your life and make some difference, make some changes into your life. So thank you all.